Hi everyone, new video time, and it's been a while, and my apologies for that, but reasons. However, what I want to talk to you about today is Assetto Corsa Evo, because it's probably overdue me putting together a video and talking about it, so here we go. Now, I don't want to go into huge amounts of detail around what we do and don't know about Assetto Corsa Evo, because as I'm recording this at the end of October, probably within a week anything I say is going to be out of date, so I'm just going to talk about the basics, and then I just really want to give you my thoughts about it. This is going to be a bit of a stream of consciousness type video and recording, so please do bear with me on that. First of all, you are not looking at any footage of AC Evo. I'm not going to regurgitate videos you've already seen, so this is just some Assetto Corsa footage that you're watching. It's the new Hyundai Elantra TC mod at Brands Hatch, so enjoy. Assetto Corsa Evo is coming to early access on Steam in January 2025, the 16th, I seem to recall, and we will at that point get at least 20 cars. Exactly what they will be interesting, because as of recording this, I think the total confirmed car list is about 28, 30 odd cars. So whether we'll see all of those or whether that will be culled back slightly will be interesting to see, and apparently we're going to have 5 tracks. That's reasonable for early access, that doesn't surprise me at all, and we are going to see that increase as the early access period goes on and they release new content and update it. My personal thought is we'll probably have the title in early access for at least a year before it gets a full release, and those of you listening to this who play on console, I seriously would not expect a release on console until at least then, so I think we're going to be looking at some point in 2026 for a console release of Assetto Corsa Evo, which it seems a bit harsh, but it's the way early access goes. There's not really a great deal we can do about that, so you either have to be patient or go and buy a gaming rig, PC, so it's pretty much the only options you've got there. So, that's all I really want to talk about in terms of released and confirmed features on the whole. I'm going to talk around them now, and my thoughts on Assetto Corsa Evo. Personally, this is a title I've really been looking forward to. I must confess that over the course of the last year, I have grown increasingly disillusioned with new content that's been coming out for sim racing and racing titles in general. Most of them at launch have been deeply disappointing at best, and some of them have been downright terrible. And it does put me off. Just about the only thing I regularly go back and hammer away at is the original Assetto Corsa, and that kind of shows how big the benchmark is, that kind of bar that Assetto Corsa Evo's got across. The title that still draws me, and I suspect an awful lot of other people back, is a 10-year-old title that, to be blunt, wasn't always great at itself at launch. And the modding scene is what has kept that going without a shadow of a doubt. And I want to talk about some of the influences that exist around that, because, make no mistake about it, Assetto Corsa Evo has a lot to do to succeed. It really does. And a lot of what we've seen is, pointing in the right direction, but it really does have a lot to live up to. And arguably, its biggest rival isn't a more modern title, but is in fact its predecessor, Assetto Corsa, with 10 years worth of mods on there, because you are talking, you've got thousands upon thousands of car track and skin mods, etc., etc. Things like Content Manager, Sol and Pure, custom shader packs, etc., which have added such a huge degree of not just content, but also options around it. You know, with custom shader packs and Sol Stroke Pure, we got dynamic weather in Assetto Corsa, which was never in there from the word go. You know, and we got a title that does not look 10 years old. In fact, some of the weakest content for it now, being perfectly honest, is the original Kunos stuff, because even with upgrades to that, a lot of the assets on there haven't been upgraded. So, you know, you've got your 2D cardboard cutout trees that you're going to be looking at in this video of Brands Hatch. And a lot of the modded content, Fat Alphys stuff, for example, looks a hell of a lot better than the Kunos tracks. So the influence modding's had on the original title and the benchmark that sets for Assetto Corsa Evo, just it really cannot be underestimated. Now, do I think that Evo has a good chance at doing this? Absolutely, I do. If we take one of the things I've just mentioned there, the dynamic weather and the inclusion of weather in it, it's visually incredibly well done with regard to the mods that came out for Assetto Corsa. You know, custom shaders pack combined with Pure, as I'm running at the moment, Sol before that, visually are incredibly impressive. They really, really are, and they stack up against some of the best official titles in terms of weather. Where, for me, it falls down and is inconsistent is around the physics and the physical interaction on the track. So it's all well and good having wet weather that looks great, but if it doesn't translate as accurately as it should to the driving dynamics and the driving physics, then you're only looking at half the picture. And I would contest that even with detailed physics switched on and Content Manager, it doesn't hit that level high enough, and the AI certainly is not really capable of dealing with it in the original Assetto Corsa. So if they nail that in Evo, that for me is a big step forward. It really is a big step forward. Other things that they are going to need to nail to do it is around the AI. I've just touched on it, not just in wet weather circumstances, but across the piece. I clearly remember when I did, on my old channel that's now defunct, a review for the console release of Assetto Corsa, the original title. I described it as the Chris Harris hot lapping simulator because the AI was so painfully bad that you couldn't realistically race against it. It would just pit maneuver you all the time. It would then just pull in for pit stops randomly and stay there, often not coming out, and it was just not enjoyable in any way, shape or form to race against. Now, that's improved over the years, and again, there's a lot of work that's been done around AI lines and things like this within mods, but it's almost inarguable that it's still not where it needs to be in the original Assetto Corsa, and that's no big surprise. You know, it's a 10-year-old title. I'm not going to hit it too hard for that. But if they can nail this, particularly in multi-class racing within Evo, that again, that's where they need to be, and these are the kind of benchmarks that they need to pull off. But for me, the biggest positive sign around Evo is that Kunos do appear to have been paying very, very careful attention to what's been going on in the modding community and where the modding community is in all its different little tribes and niches that exist within it. You know, we've already got confirmation that there is going to be free roam maps in there, and that's important because while not everybody is interested in free roam maps, there's a lot of people who just play the original AC to set up an organised race and championships and things like this. You know, there's a huge community dedicated to recreating as many F1 championship seasons as they can and racing them, and that's got to be catered for. But the free roam community is a huge one, and it needs to be given something to draw it away from the original Assetto Corsa, and it looks like Kunos are heading in that direction. And based on some of the rumours that we've heard at the present moment, they appear to be really, really invested in that, which is absolutely great. Because it's something a lot of people have been calling for in full release titles, not just via mods. People want the likes of, for want of a better way of describing it, Forza Horizon-ish with realistic physics, and that's what hopefully we will get with Evo, and that's a big plus point. There's a lot of people out there who would not have moved away from Evo had this moved away from the original Assetto Corsa to Evo if this hadn't have been on the cards. Ditto for drifting. We've not really seen anything about it so far, but again, Kunos have got to put some drifting content in there. Now, I'm reasonably sure that they will do, because there was drift locations, etc., in the original title from day one. But we need to see more around that, because that's another big community that needs to be drawn over as well. And again, it needs more structure around that, and that's where the news that we've got a career mode coming from. Now, I'm very much a sandbox kind of sim racer. I love just picking a car, a track, some opponents occasionally, and just going out and driving and racing and hot lapping. I love that kind of stuff, which is why, although I described the original AC as the Chris Harris hot lapping simulator, I didn't personally really have a problem with that. But I know, again, there's a lot of people out there who really like the structure and the format of titles like Forza and Gran Turismo, who want that progression, who want that organised career mode and structure and things to do with the ability to buy cars and modify cars and upgrade them and trade them, etc. That really appeals to an awful lot of people. And if they're talking about what they're doing around this, if they nail that, that will once again be a really, really big draw, and we'll get a lot of people invested in the title. What I do hope, and there's been hints around it, is that both sides of that groupings are respected, that those of us such as myself who really like that sandpit environment are still going to be able to have that sandpit environment, because that for me is still very important. And I would personally hate to miss that myself. So, those are kind of some of my ramblings. I mean, stuff like physics and force feedback, I'm not going to comment on too much at the moment. We've been hearing good things from people who've experienced it and had a try of it, but we are still very early days. And it's also something that I think that they will give it the respect it's due in that regard, but I'd prefer to get my hands on it before I comment in too much detail around that. The title already looks good, the PC specs are not unreasonable for a title in 2024. Certainly I know I'm going to be able to hit them, which is great for me. Hopefully other people will be able to as well. But just to finish things off, my biggest, shall I say, concern about Assetto Corsa Evo is they have, by the very necessity, had to cover an awful lot of bases to pull all of those people in. And I've completely forgot, I haven't even talked about mods, but mainly because we know modding is coming, but it's probably not going to be for at least the first year, because nobody from a modder's point of view wants to be forced to update their mods every time there's an update coming out. For an early access title, that will be very frequent. So it's a topic I might revisit on another video, but I'm not going to go into it beyond that here. So yeah, going back to what I was saying, my biggest fear around Assetto Corsa Evo is they're having to take a very broad approach to kind of pull together all of these, as I called them earlier, tribes that have grown up around the original title and the mods that have come out for the original title. And there's always a danger there that you spread yourself too thin, and you get into that jack of all trades, master of none type scenario where nobody ever ends up really happy. Now, I'm hoping that good use of an early access period will help with this. And Kunos certainly have shown by what we've seen so far that they are very observant and aware of what the community they effectively created and then ran riot in its own way off of the back of AC. So they show their listen, and I hope that continues throughout the early access period, and that we see a final launch title a little over a year from now, fingers crossed, that does hit all of these bases and hits all of these bases well. And certainly, this is the title that's got me most excited about sim racing in a very long time, because, you know, there's a lot of titles out there, and I'm not going to go into them now, that, you know, got my hopes up a little bit and then just didn't really live up to it. And I'm hoping that through a good solid early access, Assetto Corsa Evo will do. So those are my ramblings on the title. If you have listened all the way through the 15 odd minutes of this, I thank you profusely. If you found this vaguely interesting or even slightly entertaining, please do hit the like button, and if you want to hear my occasional ramblings on sim racing, please do subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified when I upload stuff, which is sporadic. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye.